Hello, boys and girls. You need to make sure that you have this page in front of you. It is our handwriting without tears page for today. And you have the uppercase O on one side and the lowercase o on the other side. We are going to start with this side that I have facing up, and this is our uppercase O. The first thing you need to do is put your name at the top of the page. So go ahead and pause the video and do that, and then you can come back and see me when you're finished. Now to make the O, it's very similar to making the C like we did last week, but you just keep going around. You start at the dot, and it's on the ceiling. You make a big curve. Keep going up, around, and touch. So you start at the dot on the ceiling, you make a big curve to the floor, keep going up and around and touch. Remember, when we are making our letters, we begin at the top of the line. We don't start writing them at the bottom. Okay, we start at the top and work our way down. So we start at the dot on the ceiling. We make a big curve to the floor and then keep going up and around and touch. Start at the ceiling, make a big curve to the floor, up and around and touch. Okay, so I want you to finish the first line. When you get everything finished that I have finished, you can resume the video, but go ahead and pause it right now and finish this first line. Let's look at the second line now. We have the uppercase O still yet, but they gave us boxes to make sure that we keep the O's in its own little space, its own little bubble. So you start at the dot on the ceiling. You make a big curve to the floor and back up, keep going up and around and touch. So here we don't have any to trace. We have to remember we don't touch this side of the box and we don't touch this side of the box. So we start at the dot. We make a big curve to the floor, up and around and over. And I accidentally touched the side of the box, didn't I? But at least I didn't go out of it. Let's try again. A big curve from the ceiling to the floor. Keep going up and around and touch. Big curve from the ceiling to the floor. Up and around and touch. A big curve from the ceiling to the floor, up and around and touch. Okay, boys and girls, go ahead and pause the video until you have this much finished, and then we will go on. Now down here at the bottom, we're going to look at some things. We are going to look to see which of these pictures begins with the O sound. Do you remember from our other videos what sound O makes? O makes the R sound. So, what is this animal? This animal is an octopus. Does octopus begin with an R? Yes, it does. So we are going to color the octopus because he begins with an O. So I have my octopus colored. You can pause the video while you get yours colored, and then you can come back and see me as well. Let's look at this next picture. This is a bicycle. Does bicycle begin with an R sound? No, it does not. A bicycle does not begin with an R sound. So we're not going to color it. Look at this next picture. What is this a picture of? It is a pencil. Does pencil begin with the R sound? No, so it does not begin with an O. We don't color it. What is this a picture of? It is an orange. Orange. Does that begin with the R sound? Yes, it does. It's kind of in disguise a little bit because of the R that comes right after it, an orange. But it does begin with an O. So go ahead and color this orange. Now, what color do you think I'm going to color this? Am I going to color my orange blue? I never see any blue oranges, do you? Am I going to color it brown? I don't think a brown orange would taste very good. There would be something wrong with that. What about pink? Well, a pink orange would be just weird. What about orange? That's what color I'm going to color it, because an orange is orange in real life. So go ahead and pause the video and color this. Okay, so I have my orange, colored orange. What is this a picture of? It is an ostrich. Ostrich. Does that begin with the R sound? Yes, it does. So color your ostrich. Okay, so I have my ostrich colored. Boys and girls, if you do not have this side of the paper finished, please pause the video and complete this side of the paper, and then you can resume it, because I'm going to flip the paper over and begin the lowercase side. This is our lowercase letter O, and we make it very similar to our lowercase c, but we just keep on going. So we start at the dot that's on the dotted line, the doorknob, and we make a little curve, or that magic C we talk about. And then we keep going up and around and touch. So we start at the dot on the dotted line doorknob, and we make a magic C, a little curve, keep going up and around and touch. Start at the dot, a magic C, little curve, up and around and touch. So boys and girls, go ahead and do your top line, the one I'm working on now, where you trace your letter O's, and do them nice and slow and take your time, because we have to get our handwriting neat slowly before we can speed up. And you can pause the video if you need to finish this line before we go to the next one. On the second line, they gave us one lowercase o to trace, and then the others they just gave us dots to start at, but they did give us the boxes to use as a guide. So we start at the dot on the dotted line doorknob, and we do a little curve from the doorknob to the floor, back up and around and touch. Now here, I don't want to touch the side of my boxes or go out. So I'm going to make my magic C, my little curve, up and around and touch. My magic C, my little curve, keep going up and around and touch. Okay, boys and girls, I would like you to complete this second line. And when you get your second line finished, it should be looking like this. Now, we're going to look at the third line, so if you don't have these finished, go ahead and pause the video so that you can finish those. Down here, they did not give us our boxes. We still have our dots to start with, and we know we don't want our letters to bump into one another. So we start at the dotted line doorknob, we do a little curve to the floor and keep going up and around and touch. And then here we're starting at the dot they gave us. We're making our magic C, our little curve, up and around and touch. And notice I'm not making my O's exceptionally small, They're pretty wide, but I'm not making them so big that they're going to bump into the other letters either. And then, of course, after the stop sign, we still do this. They just didn't give us a dot to start with, so we have to have like an imaginary dot there on that line. And so we do a little curve from the doorknob to the floor and up and around and touch. And that is how we make our letter O. Thank you for doing this with me today, boys and girls. Go ahead and finish the paper, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.